Good afternoon. Welcome back to Dan's Trades. As always, nothing as advice, information and/or educational purposes only. Do your own research. All right, we're going to take a look at today's today's activity. I was a little bit later in the day. I didn't trade anything in the morning. Wasn't even in front of my chart, so I was doing some PM session trading. And I was going to use this dealing range. We had just taken some liquidity on the sell side, taking some liquidity on the buy side, so new dealing range. Looking to enter in fair value here, OTE, and a stop down here if it doesn't respect it. So we got in as when I was in front of my charts. It was about 2:30. So I wasn't watching this part. Hence I didn't enter here, and I was waiting for this consolidation to end. Swept a little bit, so we're making room again. So I entered in here. Took a couple longs, targeting 425 here. Retraced a little bit, one more at 406, so just about midpoint. I got to stop calling that consequent encroachment. Sorry about that. It's the midpoint of this dealing range, 50%. And then 545 came around, or 1545, excuse me. And I went to enter one more, and I went to place. I had a mechanical error in my brain today. So I was in 10, 20, 25, 30 contracts here of micros. And I went to place my most recent order as I'd entered one more. I'm right-clicking and placing my limit orders above for my exits. And I hit market by accident, and it closed out that 5, so canceling half of the first position. So I was like, oh, that was a mistake. And then the market said, well, I'm going to take the rest of them for you. So I got stopped out there since we breached my stop loss, which was down here below 75%. I had it before the 380. As we see, I got filled at 389. Probably shouldn't have re-entered right away, but I still had my bullish bias. So looking to recoup some of the losses, I re-entered. Seeing as this is a nice high resistance, 50, even though it's a 15-second, it's still price is fractal. Entered again, 391, 394 building, 25. And then we started to run up, so I started partialing off, took off. So I got about 10 handles there, started peeling them off. 5 more, peeling them off. When we stopped continuing, I just said, okay, we'll take off, just reducing my risk and taking off profits, recouping some of this loss. And then closed it out completely. So 10.25. Follow along because this is a little bit of over trading today too for my own review. So 10.25, 5.10, 15.20, 25. So completely out of the position there. Looking like I want to come back down and rebalance. And now that we're at the top of the hour, we're coming up on 3 o'clock here, expecting a potential retracement. So I closed this position and I started looking at it. I said, okay, well, this is a consolidation, drop down, smart money reversal, low risk buys, first stage accumulation, retracement, could be second stage accumulation coming back on. So I re-entered. 20 more contracts again, looking for a potential second stage distribution up to complete the market maker buy model. And just started peeling them off again. So 20 contracts in, ultra scalping at this point. Peeled off 5, not getting a lot of action. So we're in the second half of the macro at the top of the hour. I was looking for it to start moving. So since it wasn't moving, I was just peeling off and reducing my risk again. So 20, 5, 10, 15, 20, and I was done. Then I had the bright idea, don't recommend this, but since I'm in between 25 contracts and micros, I said, let me just switch over to NQ, a little bit longer consolidation. So I thought I'd switched over to NQ, but I'd switched the chart only So anyone that uses top 1 futures, you got a chart up here that has the asset on it. And my execution chart over here is also a separate, so you have to do both. So I'd only switch my chart to NQ, and so I was watching NQ and executing in micro NQ. I realized on the first one, I said, where's my order? It's not there. I'm like, oh, made a mistake. So I knew I was in micros, so I jumped back over, because that's why I was only doing 1 contract. Thought it was going to be a mini execution. Smaller stops, this is going to be, so here's my next dealing range. Working off of this 5-minute dealing range. Again, we're looking at ultra scalps now, so I was just looking at retaking this high and for a potential market maker buy model up to here. And we did retake that high. Entered in a few. Since knowing it was micros, this is going to be my setup for minis, so I was happy that I actually didn't. And just peeled them back off and said, okay, that got to my target. I'm happy with that. So recoup. So a lot of recouping back the losses from the initial trade. I did switch over to micros at that time, realizing I had to switch both sides. So I'll switch over the executions here to NQ. Oh, sorry, I gotta switch the chart. I'm not executing. Market's obviously closed now, so let's move this guy. See, I keep doing it. Should be a script that runs. If you switch one, maybe switch the other. Okay. So let's see. Let me scoot this guy back. There we go. So there's where my last trade was. In the micros where I thought I was going to go to mini. Saw that nice wick. So there was my stop out, looking for the drawback to here. Here's where I entered a couple minis. So just one at 411, one at 409, and just peeled them off at 416 as we were coming up into this inefficiency, 417. I didn't feel like holding. It was like, okay, I'm trading minis, so I'm going to be diligent and just take it off as I'm in profit. So just recouping against those losses. It is still my first red day, so it's bound to happen sooner or later, but at least it's less of a red day than it was when I got stopped out on this 1545 candle, or 1445 candle, excuse me. So I should have, or in hindsight, I typically don't trade that hour. I'm typically more trading the right after PM starts, which is, there's this nice run up, so that would have been a better trade. Retracement on that one. It was also interesting today where the micro NQ took the lunch high and the mini did not. So I've been seeing that more and more as I watch it, very judiciously. Pretty interesting. Let me pull up the other chart here. Let me get Trading View loaded up here a second. Okay, took a second for Trading View to load up, but we got it loaded back up. So here's a look at a view in the sessions. Pre-market, left a high. London swept both sides. So we had Asia highs up here with the lunch highs. Very interesting how the lunch high left the Asian high. It's always suspect, so this would have been a beautiful trade. This would have normally been the one as I watched the 1330 to 1400 macro to get the, or this one right here. Why isn't it drawing it in? Do I not have it on? Oh, it's not. Here we go. So there's the lunch macro ending and the range being established for PM. So there's the first presentation in the PM. And then 2 o'clock comes around. I usually like trading 2 o'clock versus 2:30. So I was in a little bit late. Up here was 2:30 was right here. So this had just happened. So I was looking for another run up, smaller one. So yeah, hindsight is just the wrong time. Time is the #1 factor. But what's interesting here, what I want to show was, here's the lunch high on micros. If I switch this over to minis, watch right here. Didn't take it out until over here. Interesting, huh? And look also, the lunch took out the Asia high. I didn't see that one before. That's interesting as well. So Asian high. I keep saying London for Asia sometimes. Sorry about that. So Asian highs there. And the minis, lunge took out that. And we'll jump back just to make sure I'm not. Yeah, interesting. So beware what you're watching and what you're trading, and keep an eye on both. And that's why it's always nice to, whether you want to call it front running, but taking out profits maybe before it gets there if you're in a long trade in the lunch macro for some reason. But I thought that was interesting where right here was the SMT basically with the minis versus the micros, where it was a failure swing, whereas in the micro it took it out. They both retraced down. There's that 1545 candle. I keep saying 1545 again, sorry. 1445. Then the final hour macro came and the market on close was wild at the beginning and then dumped down. I found it very interesting too. One of the reasons that I did take this trade again, I'll mention as I pull the micro chart back up here. When this happened, one of the reasons that I was confident in retaking this and re-entering right here and not expecting lower prices was for this reason right here. It had wicked down and spiked down into the first presentation displacement from midnight and then recovered back up. Oh no, sorry, excuse me, I'm in the market on close. Right here. I was going to say it was only a wick. So right here was, it wicked down into it, closed back up, making that's that high resistance on a 15-second chart, also on a 1-minute chart. So that's why I was re-entering as quickly as I was after being stopped out. That went into play. Then we closed above first presentation. Then we came above, so that's where I was recouping the losses from right here. So that was the makings of my first red day on this account, so it is what it is. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. I recouped back most of them, but I'd say I recouped back 75% of my losses that I had right here. So in those other ultra scalping, that's the only reason I had so many trades today. I think it was 19 or some. But yeah, the dollars don't matter. The units do. And that's the first red day. It is what it is. Full transparency. What are we doing now out of curiosity? Just the in-between. We just opened back up 40 minutes ago. Or no, we're not ended yet, sorry. I keep thinking it's later in the day already. We're still in just the post-market. Coming back, rebalancing the market on close inefficiencies. And then the market will be closed in 20 minutes. Then we'll have the reset for tomorrow. But we're done. Just thought I'd make a quick review of my first red day. They do happen. Remember, as we're seeing in the news, people are dropping left and right. Hulk Hogan today, Malcolm Jamal Warner earlier in the week, Ozzy Osbourne, and multiple other people. So that's why I say tomorrow is promised for none of us. Make sure you live for today and have some fun doing it. Live for today. Take care. God bless.